Attention! This video contains footage from a very violent and gory film series, so in order for this video to be monetized, I have to censor those parts. If you wish to see the uncensored version, it is on patreon.com/YMS for only $1. And if you want to watch it here on YouTube, just click the join button underneath this video. Thank you. Here we are. We saw X.
Saw X.
We saw X.
And does Saw X sulks? No, it doesn't really work. Does it?
I wore my socks
sulks.
to Saw X. You could make an argument either way as to whether or not it sucks. It was a return to form.
But man, not for me. This was... Ooh, I was... Let's just go straight... We're going to talk spoilers.
Yes.
We're going to go straight into spoilers here. We're going to have all of it.
Who the fuck wants to hear somebody talk about Saw without hearing spoilers? And also, it's impossible to spoil this movie anyway, because, like, good luck fucking explaining what the twist is. Like, it's so fucking...
Yeah.
The reason why you haven't seen it
so
on social media or, like, Twitter or anything, like, I was kind of expecting, like, oh, someone's gonna, like, spoil me, and they'll say, like, Jigsaw is your twin brother or something like that. But instead, the twist is the people that are going there that they're bad guys, but he knew a whole time that they were going to show up. Some 4D chess stuff. Yeah, it's just more 4D chess stuff. Like, just shit that only involves characters that are just introduced in this film anyway. So it doesn't really affect the timeline, and the twist is like a self-contained weird thing. Which is fine, but it's also kind of just fucking dumb and incomprehensible and stupid. But
that's part of what is so good about this. Like, you say the word timeline, and man, like, where in the Saw timeline does this even sit? I was, like, so confused by that. Because is this 10 or is it 9? Does this include Spiral?
It's 10 if you include Spiral from the Book of Saw.
Doing a Star Wars thing. God, it's so...
I hate it.
That fucking thing was such a mess. Yeah, that was awful. Yeah. But yeah, it definitely was a return to form. Because to me, maybe I'm forgetting some details from those previous Saw movies, but to me, the first act of Saw X was probably the funniest section of any Saw movie yet.
Awesome. I'm glad you felt that way.
I thought it was so fucking funny. I thought it was hilarious, the tone it was going for.
Yes.
It was like... What is even... Like, that's part of the enjoyment of these Saw movies at this point, is like... 3 movies in, they killed the best part of it. So now it's like every excuse in the book to bring him back.
Yeah.
And they haven't... I'm still waiting on the twin. I'm still waiting on the identical twin.
Please.
And there's still room to do that. But here it's like, I guess, a prequel somewhere?
It's between Saw 1 and 2. It's between 1 and 2 is the...
Oh, okay. Okay, 1 and 2. Wait, but I thought the girl in this movie is in Saw 2.
She's also in Saw 1, and it's revealed at the end of Saw 2 that she was an apprentice since Saw 1. So Amanda is the character in the reverse bear trap trap.
Oh, yeah, I thought that was I was having a conversation with someone, they were telling me that was in 2, so no, I'm all mixed up, yeah. Okay.
And then 2, she's like, I'm back in the game! But then she really wasn't, and she was just pretending the whole time. That's
right, that's one of the... Okay, no, it's coming back to me now, it's coming back. But no, that first act.
I got you. Like, don't worry. Don't worry, buddy.
It's another thing I was trying to remember. I don't think... Is there a Saw movie where this much focus was put on Jigsaw as, like, the main character? Like, he's kind of like... It all centers around him, which on its own is like... That's kind of all I'm here for, is for Tobin Bell, if I'm being real.
Yeah.
He carries this franchise on his back. He is Saw. He has everything to do with this. So the fact that they in complete and utter earnest, they spend the first act of this movie trying to make you empathize and relate to a serial killer who you know is Jigsaw. It's not like before he's even started killing people. It's like some of these scenes I was cackling with laughter at how ridiculous this shit was getting.
He's already designing traps, and like he's already the events of Saw 1 had already happened.
Yeah, he's already killed people. He's already murdered people. And like that scene where it's from the poster with the eyes being sucked out saw trap.
Yes.
Where like that whole setup where he's like walking through the hospital after a miserable experience for his cancer treatment. He sees this guy robbing someone in the hospital. And then he has this elaborate dream sequence basically about like, oh, if I was going to put this guy in a saw trap, what would I do? How would I test him? And it's like all this hypothetical. And then the guy decides, oh, actually, I'm gonna have a change of consciousness and not steal from this person in a hospital bed. And he like wanders up to him and just goes, "Good choice." Good choice. He's like this weird arbiter of justice. It's so fucking funny. He's like sitting on park benches, like casually designing saw traps, and it's all like framed in this totally like straight, earnest way. And I thought that was so funny. That was like hilarious to me. That whole section was golden. I can't think of anything as funny as that in any of the other Saw movies. Like, I was loving that. It was just so ridiculous.
It is funny what they were doing with the tone, but I also think that they did it in such a way where the types of fans of the Saw franchise, if they want to get something out of it unironically, they still can. So they created something that you can enjoy ironically or unironically. I was having a bit of both because I am a fan of the Saw films in a, unironic and ironic way at the same time. Like
it's
part
a mix.
of both
It depends
worlds.
on the movie.
I play both sides, so I always come out on top. Kevin Gruder, the director of this film, he also directed 6 and 7. He's also the editor of every single Saw film except Spiral from the Book of Saw. So
interesting. Yeah, this actually felt like a Saw movie.
Yeah, he's really the voice of the franchise.
Yeah, the editing of all the crazy, the speeding up, the spinning around, that's definitely what makes it.
Yeah, he understands what Saw is and what makes it work. Saw 6 I absolutely love. I think that's like maybe my favorite.
Is that the carousel with the shotgun?
Yeah, it's so much fun.
The health insurance one. That is a good one. That is a particularly good one.
Yeah, it's very, very entertaining. Something that the previous two Saw films being Jigsaw and Spiral from the Book of Saw, they're the most boring, pointless, useless piece of shit movies. The traps are not memorable. The characters are not memorable. No. The twists are bullshit.
Jigsaw, the twist was that it was revealed that half the movie was in a different period of time, right?
Yes,
that was the twist.
And it was even though they had like flat screen HD TVs that didn't exist at the time. They were very lazy, clearly intent. It was not just a twist, and it was not just bullshit. What the twist was, it was how they revealed it, because they just actively lied to you throughout the entire film in order for the twist to be a twist. They had to be dishonest about what they were showing.
Yeah, there's no clues.
Which is just it's so annoying. And what's really funny, so they've done this twist a bunch of times of actually there was another apprentice the whole time. And, if the camera just panned to the left in Saw 1, you'd see like 6 other people. Like, that's the implication, right? And so in Jigsaw, the 2017 film, there is a twist at the end that has a new apprentice. And they call him Jigsaw's first apprentice, and his name's Logan. And I can't even remember what he looks like. And the fact, I forget that he exists. I forget that he exists, and I'm glad that this newest film didn't acknowledge him, because even fans of Saw, nobody gives a shit about Logan. Hoffman in the post credits, I love that they gave a nod to him. And I hope that this movie is successful enough that they have the balls to put him in a more prominent role in the next film. If they do fucking Saw 11,
they must do. I think he's doing well.
Fucking put Hoffman in it. Make him a big part. I love Hoffman. He's a fun part of the franchise.
Which is the one where he goes in the glass box and
that would be Saw 5.
I just saw a gif of that the other day. It was just captioned he was mad for this. It's just I agree.
That little
what
smirk.
A crazy moment. He's a fun character.
Broken arm.
He did carry it for a while.
Yeah.
Did you say there's an after credits thing though for Saw X?
It was like a mid post credits. It was it literally was just like when Jigsaw meets the guy. I think they were at a food truck or something outside. And he was like, "Oh, my surgery was a success. I remember you.
Oh,
here's my scar."
Yeah.
Pulls up his shirt, and he's like,
Oh,
"It's
yeah, I
my
had questions
wound,"
about that.
right? So
Yeah.
the end credits sequence is essentially, it reveals that that guy was in on the scam, and so it has him tied up in a room. Obviously, he's going to be, tortured in some way. I don't even remember the specifics because it doesn't show it, which is unfortunate. But it has that guy being like, "Oh, I didn't mean to lie to you or whatever. Help, get me out of here." And Jigsaw says, "Thank you for helping me identify this person, detective." And then it shows Hoffman, and he's like, "My pleasure," or whatever. It's just a nod to for the Jigsaw, for the Saw
so it actually
fans,
shows his face. It's not just his voice.
Yeah,
Nice.
for the Saw fans to be acknowledged in a way where it's like, "Oh yeah, we remember Hoffman exists too." We were trying to play it safe with this film by not including characters prominently past the first that showed up past the first 3 Saw films, or even 2.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I think part of their marketing strategy for this was like, we're not doing a new timeline, we're not doing a hard reset, but we're kind of doing a soft reset in the sense that we want to capture the demographic of people who stopped watching after the second Saw film, which is funny. But damn, I really think they should just keep going with Hoffman. Like, who cares? I don't know. As long as you have Jigsaw in it prominently.
But then where would they set it? Like, where in the timeline would they set it?
I don't know, between 2 and 3. Make another, they go to Mexico again. And then this time Hoffman gets his passport. You know what actually works well about the infinite number of apprentices that Jigsaw has, but them only including Amanda in this film, is that it takes place in Mexico. So I'm just able to tell myself, oh, Amanda's the only apprentice that had a passport. And that's what I tell myself. So Logan didn't have his passport, even though he was the first apprentice, supposedly. But we just don't have to acknowledge him. Dr. Gordon did not have his passport. Amanda was the only one with a passport, and that's why the story works. Very funny. It's funny that they didn't have Carrie Elways in this at all, which is great. Who cares?
Yeah, no, I was happy about that. They seemed to just prune the stuff that they knew was like, nah. Let's not revisit that mess. let's keep our mess nice and organized over here. Yeah, our own little organized mess.
Turns out all you needed to do was not have Chris Rock making all the calls. to just have a
what a bizarre because this film is like getting really good reception. Like, it's got like a really high Rotten Tomatoes score. It's got a pretty high IMDb score. Yeah, the highest. Do you think that is simply because of how bad Jigsaw and Spiral were? So it's like, oh, this is the fun thing we remember. You think it's just that?
Yeah, it's a return to form.
Yeah, it's not like it's changing what Saw movies are fundamentally. It's just like a well-done Saw movie. Like, it actually ticks the boxes you'd want. Yes. Whereas, like, I can't even. Were there Saw traps in Spiral? I can't even remember one.
There were.
I can't remember a single one.
But they were not memorable, and they sucked, and they were stupid.
And what was the twist? Was it something to do with Sam Jackson being a copycat killer or something?
The twist was that the Chris Rock's partner didn't die when they implied that he died earlier, even though they implied it so terribly that it doesn't even feel like a twist, because any rational non-child watching the film will just assume they didn't die because they didn't show him dying, and it's the only character they didn't show dying. And so you would just think that based on how the movie's presenting itself, that that's information that you're already supposed to know. But then later they pretend as if it's a twist, and then you have to piece together the idea that they were trying to present that as a twist, which is just absolute confusion, and it doesn't work.
No wonder I didn't remember it.
And that sucks. Absolute cancer, and I'm very passionately angry about the film in a way where I need to make a video about it. It's unfortunate that I haven't been able to do it.
Yeah.
Because it's one of those where it's like, well, I want to give it the proper treatment. I can't just like fart it out. But
there's a lot to say about that one, yeah.
Yeah, so I felt like this Saw film very much a return to form, but it was also kind of too long.
It was too long. It's the longest one, right? I don't know why it needed to be that long.
By like 30 minutes.
Yeah, why?
I don't know.
Why do they feel like that was necessary?
It's a more mature Saw film. in terms of it,
is it
pretending to be emotionally resonant in ways that the other films didn't spend as much time trying to do, if that makes
like
sense.
the kid? That was a surprise, including kids in it. I don't remember them really doing that before.
No.
And like Jigsaw having this, he's like fixing that was part of the humor. It's like fixing the wheel of the little kid's bike.
Yeah.
Like having this genuine little connection with this little Mexican boy.
That was so funny. Yeah. That all of the intendedly earnest moments of the film are probably the funniest for me. I was watching the movie with a smile on my face for much of it.
Yeah, so was I, and I was laughing with it. I was laughing at it.
Yeah, trying my best not to laugh too loud. There weren't that many people in my theater, but yeah.
Yeah, neither are mine. But the emotional like crescendo of like the little boy being put in the saw trap, and then like it's the reincorporation of the Spanish word for pull or something.
Yes.
And, and then they're just like on the seesaw, like just gobbling blood like for like 10 minutes. It's just like
it's such a funny dramatic scene that guaranteed there's some like diehard fans taking it super seriously, and I love thinking about that.
I love thinking about that's part of the humor too, because like you read some of the IMDb reviews and people are like, yeah, I was really like feeling for Jigsaw, and he he really got hard done by, because you know they've done like every spin on people that deserve to be murdered, but this time it's like scammers tricking old people in the most like elaborate way possible, like tricking old people to go to Mexico and trick them that they've done surgery on them. It's like, what a funny premise.
It's a very funny premise that they put a lot of effort into pulling off, like the characters in the universe, but we're also incredibly lazy in ways that would just come back to bite them in the ass. Like you didn't even like shave his head. You didn't even like pretend to, like, as soon as he takes the bandage off, he's gonna know.
Yeah.
You could do things in a way where like he would never find out and he would die. That's what a real scammer would do.
Yeah, I just think it's, man, trying to humanize a serial killer in this way is just so hilarious.
It's very funny.
So
but
funny
they've done
me.
it throughout the franchise in ways where they're like, he doesn't actually kill people. They just make a choice.
But that logic doesn't make any sense. You
get to choose to live missing a leg or two, right?
Hey, I didn't press the button. I didn't drill into your brain. I just strapped you down and gave you a really restrictive time limit and made it so you'd die if you didn't complete this insane task in the ridiculous time limit.
Yeah, it's the trolley problem. I just tied people to the train tracks, but you can just not press it.
That's another branch of humor though, is his like philosophy. Like it just makes no sense, but he really sells it. Like he just like hates drug addicts. That's like a continuous thread with these movies. Like he really wants drug addicts to suffer, and that's like one of the B plots in the movie.
It is what I don't know if I got that from this, because I thought they were only showing what's her name, Gabriella or something. I thought they were only showing her as a drug addict to try and make it more of an empathetic character.
For Amanda, to have the Amanda parallels.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yeah, Amanda was a... Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. That's literally the only reason why she got jiggy with it in Saw 1. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, he just like has this thing against drug addicts, I guess. And like when she pushes back in a way that's like totally reasonable, he's like, they have free will. And she just like shuts her down.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's quite a simplistic way of looking at it, but you do you, I guess, John.
Mr. Saw. There's a lot about this film that I think everybody is just sort of willing to forgive, because we all just kind of wanted another Saw film, and we got it. Everyone is forgiving the fact that Amanda looks like she's 55, 60 years old. That's fine. I'm forgiving it too. It's notable.
Yeah.
It's very noticeable. I can't not see it, but I'm forgiving it. Jigsaw's voice, much more raspy too. He feels older.
Oh yeah.
Although the contrast between like him and Amanda. Like Amanda's where it's particularly
it does show
aged.
a lot more. How old is Tobin Bell? He must be like 150 by now.
I think he's 187.
He's 81 years old. What a legend. And he's still going strong.
But here's the thing, like that's what makes Spiral from the Book of Saw so much worse, is that they're wasting valuable fucking time while this guy is still alive. He's the voice of the franchise, okay? This isn't like Friday the 13th where you can just put another hockey mask on someone else, or like, even though someone argued that the actor for Friday the 13th made a lot of it his physical performance, yada, 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 but we're not going to get into that discussion. Anyway, it's like you can't replace Jigsaw. You can't. And the fact that they almost tried to in Spiral from the Book of Saw. And they were like, hey, detective, I think that you don't like what I'm doing.
Hello, Captain Garza. I want to play a game. You have covered all corruption in your department.
Like, that's a scary voice now?
Yeah, that was a big contrast. Is that film seemed like a SNL skit. It didn't even feel like a movie, you know? Whereas like this at least felt like a movie again. It felt like they actually cared about it. Man, what a crazy project.
Yeah, and what's really funny is you listen to director of Spiral from the Book of Saw, Darren Lynn Bousman, who also directed Saw 2 through 4. You listen to him talk about it, and he thinks he's made some sort of fucking masterpiece. He's like, oh yeah, I took a more mature approach to Saw, and he keeps talking about it, insisting it without really showing it, without really having anything to back it up.
Yeah, he thinks he's directing like 7 or something.
Yeah, he thought he was directing 7, legitimately.
Gone are the handheld, shaky, crazy cuts every 1 second. And now there's a lot of longer takes. There's a lot of steady cam and crane movements, which there wasn't in previous films. So I think that it's a little more of a growing up as a filmmaker.
And he's like, it comes off as so incredibly pretentious. And what's so funny is like, apparently the movie was supposed to be like 30 minutes longer. You listen to the director's commentary. There's so many shots where he's like, yeah, actually this was a oneer. And you look at the entire sequence, it's like, this is already like 5 minutes long and slow as fuck and boring. And you're telling me that there were like no cuts, that you cut this down? And he just says that like at several points during the movie. Yeah, this was a oneer. It's like this weird man-child's interpretation of what a mature movie is without having any sort of comprehension of how to do it is just fucking fascinating. And then Kevin Gruder, without pompously saying, oh, we're doing a more mature Saw film, he just fucking does it. He hits the emotional beats so much better than many of the other films in the franchise. And he's able to just do it because he knows what he's doing. He's the voice of the franchise. He's been editing since the first fucking movie. Right? We stan Kevin.
He's the DNA. Yeah. In fact, I just found a bit of trivia. This is in the trivia section. This is the first film in the franchise in which John Kramer / Jigsaw cries. Yeah, he's like screaming, he's raising his voice, he's like this. Oh, it's so good. I'm so glad he had such a big role in it too. Like, just making him the main character is such a good choice.
Exactly. Do it again.
Keep him the main character. It's hilarious.
Do it again. Yeah. Make another fucking 10 movies while you can. I will watch every single one of them. I will watch every single one of them in theaters. I want to keep watching Saw movies in theaters.
I feel like, I can't remember Saw 3 that well, but I feel like that space in between Saw 1 and 3, you could just stay there. Just, build your fence there. Just keep it there,
Saw 4 takes place before Saw 3. Jigsaw takes place before Saw 1.
So the majority of them take place before 3.
Yeah, because they have to find ways to have the guy that they killed still show up in the movie. And then like 5 and 6 and 7 are like half flashbacks that take place obviously before he's dead. And so it's like, well, yeah.
And they've done all the tropes. They've done Copycat Killer. They've done Apprentice. Yeah, they have to do that.
Yeah, keep making more John Kramer getting jiggy with it cinematic universe films, and keep them in, as long as you have them set before Saw 3, keep doing it. People want to see it. You don't have to make it a fucking twist, which is what they finally learned. You can have it set before Saw 3 and not have it be a twist. You can just be honest about it and people will watch the fucking movie. What's this doing box office numbers? I hope it's doing great.
I think it's doing well.
Actually, no, it's doing better than Saw 6 right now. Yeah. It hasn't beat Saw 3D yet.
Okay, but that was a big deal.
So let's hope that it gets to like 50 million or something.
Well, that was another thing. Like, what was the poster of Saw 3D? Like, what
That's
the
a fun
fuck
meme,
was that?
It was one of, it was a different time where you could just kind of design a poster that had nothing to do with your movie. And I kind of, I don't hate that poster. It doesn't make any sense at all, but I don't hate it because I think the ideas of what it's getting at, it's kind of playing into the whole like, oh yeah, he's kind of like an omniscient god that, he's he exists between stasis and anti-stasis, and there's an idea of John Kramer, something illusory.
Oh, it's so good.
A lot of great choices. So the villain of this film is not Jigsaw, which is fun.
Someone more eviler than Jigsaw.
She plays it so over the top, too. She's like, I enjoy being evil, actually. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, she's mustache twirling.
Yeah.
Yeah, she like kills the drug addict. She like murders her. It's not even Jigsaw doing all the murdering.
He doesn't kill people.
She's like a scammer and then escalate. Yeah, so she kills, by his rules, she kills more people than him.
Yes.
And then like, because she's one of the two characters to actually succeed getting through the saw trap, right? And then like he has this whole change of heart, and he's like playing the good guy all of a sudden. No, we gotta get her to a hospital now. It's really important. It's like you put her in this situation, like this kind of pretty much innocent woman, just like a drug addict, like in this horrible situation. Mm-hmm. And she's gone through this macabre test, and then she just winds up getting her neck snapped by this Norwegian woman.
Yeah, in a very weird, just kind of, it's a weird way to do it. She kind of just steps on her and she's dead. And that's the implication. Like, goodbye. And that makes her more evil. Yeah. So it's weird that they, like, in the writing process of this, they're just finding ways to not only redeem Jigsaw as a character, or at least imply that that's what's happening, but to make it so that what he's fighting is more evil than what he's doing, and that he's not the bad guy. Was just like the funniest way that you could have a franchise go. Like, imagine them doing that with fucking Freddy Krueger. You know, imagine them doing that with like any other horror icon character.
Yeah. You must have never heard of two wrongs don't make a right. Like, it's like, what? Just the logic, the internal logic is so crazy. That's another thing to enjoy about it, though, for me. I guess in an ironic sense, because it's just, creating these new villains. You really don't need to do that. Like, she didn't need to be that evil. She really didn't need to be, but I'm glad they did. Makes it more entertaining.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found myself surprised with how I was actually able to unironically relate to the emotions in this film at points. Much of it was ironic enjoyment. Much of it was me laughing at what they were doing or what the implications of them doing was. But I was able to get something out of it. It wasn't like a bad idea in terms of how things were strung together, like with the tones they were hitting with the music, even though it wasn't like the best score, but it was like it was like something that kind of carried the energy in an interesting way that it also felt new to the franchise. It's such an interesting pivot and shift, and finally they're doing something that subverts the norms of the franchise, but it works and it feels familiar, and it is a return to form. They're simultaneously being subversive and also staying true to its roots, which I think is really cool that they're able to hit those simultaneously.
And checks the boxes that you actually want from the movies without ruining it completely. Because it doesn't even open on a saw trap, does it? Like, it takes a little while, and the first trap you get is that dream sequence, which is kind of clever and creative in its own way. Like, I thought at first, like, is this going to be the whole movie? Is it just going to be like him just walking around, like, imagining what he's gonna do to certain people. Like, because I would watch that as well, to be honest. Like that's also hilarious to me. Just like Jigsaw's thought process, like documented. How do you think they like pulled off the twist then? Like it's just so many layers.
The twist doesn't even matter.
I thought for a second that there actually weren't gonna go there. I thought they were changing enough about the formula that maybe there wasn't gonna be a twist. But no, there's a twist. There's layers and layers to this twist, and I'm not like trying to analyze it in my head, like how it even. So he like built this trap that required that he was hoping him and Amanda were gonna be put in. I guess was the idea.
Yeah, because he knew her so well on a psychological level that he knew that the evil woman would say, "Now you go in the trap." So he's very omniscient and knew exactly what was going to happen at that moment. Like, would any of this have happened if she didn't like use?
They had to both go into that room and get the money.
Like,
as well.
Wait, no, let's think further back. She used someone's intestines as a rope. He knew that she was gonna do that. Like, she's like, "No, we have a rope. See, let's just get this guy's
And that was
guts."
crazy because did they even have to do that? Like,
no.
Another character suggests something reasonable, like tying the jackets together and doing that.
Yeah, I guess there
just
were a
going
few
straight
ways.
to the. I'm glad they did it though.
Yeah, so he looked at her and was like, "Well, I know she loves money, and she likes doing mean things, so I predict that it will play out like this." So is this the first time ever post-miscarriage Jigsaw? Which I don't know if you remember that part, but that's a... Yeah, anyway.
I do remember that.
Okay.
I, of course,
So
remember that part, yeah.
Post that, is this the only time where something happens that he didn't account for? Because the implication is that the child wasn't supposed to be there, and he's like, there was a possibility I didn't think of. Even though he's literally an omniscient god and he knows what's happening galaxies away.
I guess he gets conned twice then, because the whole reason he's there, he's like tricked. He's not able to 40 chess his way out of that situation. He's scammed for 250 grand or whatever it was.
Unless he knew that was going to happen.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Hey, why not? What if we could interpret it that way? He's just pretending. He's a big troll.
But yeah, it's a shame they've already done that in terms of like going back in time to try and explain to the audience why he started doing it in the first place. So I feel like this whole scamming thing, making him believe he's been healed, that would turn me into a serial killer. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it justifies his actions in a way that's funnier because he was already killing people before this point. Like if this was like incident 1 and he's like, oh, fuck, I'm gonna just kill people, like that would be so much more believable, but instead we have some other explanations because of the miscarriage. I think, was that supposed to be his first? I'm
pretty sure that was the impetus.
Yeah, the knives on the guy's face because him and Amanda, it was Amanda's boyfriend, and they were trying to get drugs from a hospital, and because John Kramer's wife...
Wait, it was Amanda's boyfriend?
Yeah, it was Amanda's boyfriend. They were both there.
Oh my god.
And John Kramer's wife was pregnant, working at the hospital, and I guess doing a night shift, closing the hospital, which I guess has closed hours. I don't know where this hospital is. And as she's locking up, the drug addicts, which include Amanda and her boyfriend, they push open the door. They're like, out of the way. And it pops her belly. And she goes, ah. Yeah. And then that's, I believe that's supposed to be when he starts getting jiggy with it.
Yeah. But like, why, man, like they never mention her. So like, they forget that. Why not just make it? Because then you'd have even more freedom of like establishing the early days of Jigsaw, where he's like learning and figuring stuff out and designing his early traps and whatnot. But I suppose they have like done that a little bit.
I find it super interesting that every other franchise's soft reboot at this point, especially with horror films, they just flat out say, hey, we're continuing the timeline as if Halloween 2 didn't exist. And people are like, okay, we'll accept that. They could easily do that with the Saw franchise. They could be like, we're rewriting Saw 3. He doesn't die.
Yeah.
And that would save a lot of issues. But instead they don't, which is very interesting, and I kind of love that they don't. That they're still... there's one timeline, which is crazy. there's one
crazy.
timeline that's pretending to have consistency with itself. And they're not like, oh, no, we're not rewriting anything. This is all a part of one story, and this is all very important information, and it all comes together. It's like poetry, it rhymes. It's very
like
ambitious.
Star Wars level of convolution. Yeah, it's extremely ambitious.
It's the most ambitious story that's ever been written. You could make an argument.
Ever told.
It's the never-ending story.
Oh, man.
I was writing notes throughout the entirety of this. I brought like a physical notebook and I was just scribbling the entire... that was my entire theater experience, was just like jotting things down quickly and like laughing. The entire time. Yeah, you got the kid saying pulled in Spanish, which is just such a funny... Showing Jigsaw being nice to a kid is just a fun... like, aw,
Yeah.
he's like a real man.
All these writing tricks to try and make the most sympathetic character ever. He's like an old man, he has cancer, and he's really nice to kids and helps him fix his bicycle. So, this is perfect.
Wouldn't you do the same thing in his shoes? Wouldn't we all start making weird games? Kidnapping drug addicts?
Whenever he like has to justify what he's doing to the audience or other characters, that's always fun. Because like when he kidnaps the taxi driver, at first you don't really know that he was involved at all, so it's like what so he's just gonna kill this taxi driver who took him there, who you don't know as an audience member like was involved. But then it like it's this... I'd love to see like an elaborate timeline of like the actual order of the way things happen, because he like picks things up. He does just play 4D chess like in such a crazy elaborate way, and he's like makes this entire elaborate system in like a couple days, I guess. Like how long is he there? I don't know.
He's
connected. And he's like a master mechanic.
He's got some sort of elaborate setup. He's got a lot of laborers working in different countries for him.
I like imagining that he does it all himself, like he builds it all himself.
Yeah, cut to like 5 years later,
like...
he's finally got his garage figured out, like this warehouse.
Yeah.
It's like, finally I can get my revenge on these people 5 years ago. I find it funny, what was kind of jarring about this movie, the way that characters reacted as they're discovering they're in the saw traps and whatnot, and especially the villain lady who's like, no, trust me, you gotta do this. You just gotta do it. It's one of those things where it's like, this would make sense from like Saw 6 or 7, where like, at that point in the timeline, Jigsaw is a real thing that everybody on the planet knows about.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, you could be next. Like, it's just like, there's support groups for Jigsaw, unironically. Like, there's actual support groups in the universe. And so it makes sense where it's like, okay, wake up, you're in a Jigsaw trap, you're like, I know how this goes, I've seen the news, fucking do it. But at this point in the timeline, people weren't really sure about how things went down. And there was Amanda was like the only person that made it out alive.
Doesn't she have a line there where like the evil Norwegian lady, she's like, there was a moment where I realized you were the famous Jigsaw. Like,
is that what she
like
says? I might have missed that line.
She says something like that. Yeah, she says something silly like that.
I would love to rewatch it, because that's funny. Because he's not supposed to be that famous by this point in the timeline, if I'm not mistaken. Like, I think Amanda should be the only... I don't know, because they could do kind of rewrite itself and make it seem like a lot more was happening before Saw 1 over the course of the franchise in some movies that I don't watch as often. So,
what if someone's made that?
Damn, it's
like
so
a
weird.
full Saw timeline.
Surely there has to be. We need a fan edit of the film chronologically. So all the flashbacks from Saw 5 and 6. God damn it, I need to make that. In 4K. All the flashbacks coming in the right order. Surely someone's
there are multiple posts on Reddit of people who've made timeline universe explained 2003, 2004, 2005. Okay.
Someone has to edit that into a single seamless feature. Make it good.
Oh, this is awesome.
So Jigsaw only realized that he got scammed because he was so nice he wanted to give Gabriella a present. He found out how to go back. He's like, what? They're all gone. And they all packed up in fucking 10 hours or whatever. And they didn't even shave his head. So he takes off the bandage after the fact. He's like, what? You weren't even slicing my noggin. Which they could have just cut him.
He's a genius, but he can't figure that out.
They could have just cut him.
When he wakes up, he would have felt no pain when he woke up. Unless whatever he was drinking from those vials was supposed to be keeping him subdued.
Yeah.
It didn't hold him back enough. He had brain surgery. It's not a minor surgery. It's maybe the most serious surgery you can get. And the next day he's walking around giving presents to people.
He's buying some booze.
He doesn't twig on.
Strolling around Mexico. Where are those wires going through on his arms that they're not severing a major artery?
Yeah, that's just something you got to get over with these Saw movies. I don't think it's possible to like the woman who slices her leg off with a cheese.
That was fun. I liked that
thing. That was cringeworthy in the best of ways.
Yes, that was delightfully gory and squeamish and relatable in terms of just seeing that and imagining the feeling and the sound effects that go along with it and how much of it they actually showed and how good the effects looked too.
They did look very good.
Yeah.
And then the fact she fails as well, because and then her head gets cut off.
Oh yeah, everybody that fails their traps in this movie just does it in the worst way possible, where they go through all of the suffering, but just the timer didn't work out in the same way.
Yeah, he is an asshole for those timers.
Yeah, they hesitated in the first 10 seconds, and then finally they muster up the courage. They're like, I'm gonna take these pieces out of my brain, or I'm gonna suck the bone marrow out of my thigh, or what was it? Was it bone marrow?
Yeah, she had to cut her leg off and then use a vacuum to get the bone marrow out of her leg.
That's so silly. It's so convoluted in that way. Really? The bone marrow? And then what was the deal with the brain matter that he's putting into... He has to put it into a jar filled with what? It was hydrochloric acid?
Oh, it was a chemical that dissolved it into something.
What is it? Is it a chemical that would only dissolve brain tissue? If he cut off his ear, what would happen, right? Would it not work? The chemical can determine what is brain tissue and nothing else would dissolve?
I guess the idea is they're watching, so there's some implication that they can't defy what is happening to them. Because at first he's I refuse to play, but then they just electrocute him. So I guess that's supposed to say you have to play by the rules or you're gonna die anyway.
Maximum torture and suffering for these characters, and then they just die anyway, which is the funniest shit ever. And so it's just they complete the task, and then they sit there in pain waiting for a minute while this weird Rube Goldberg machine happens. And they're like, oh, is it gonna make the timer? And then it doesn't, and that's so funny to me. It's so stupid.
And after all of it, doesn't the villain survive, the Norwegian woman? Because she kills her boyfriend. She kills her boyfriend, and then the gas stops being pumped into the room. So I guess she's still out there, huh?
I don't know. Unless he just leaves her. Which wouldn't be the first person he's just kind of left somewhere.
Yeah, it wouldn't be the first time.
Adam from Saw 1.
Game over. No! You're on the ground the whole time. Dang it. I could have shot you in the head.
He is stingy with it.
Is this the first film in the franchise with subtitles.
Oh yeah.
I think this might be the first film in the entire franchise where someone's speaking in a foreign language and they have subtitles. And it was prominent, and it was happening for a bunch of the film.
Do they ever go to a different country? I don't remember it being set anywhere but America in the previous ones, because there's always like normally the like cop angle in the Saw movies.
Yeah,
like the
it's
detectives or
there's
something
no
like that.
reason to believe any of the other films are not set in the United States.
Yeah.
In fact, they must be because of
So that's another thing that kind of livens it up a bit. They can
Healthcare
send him
stuff.
all over the world, you know?
Yeah. I want Jigsaw in space. I want
Space.
Jigsaw in the International Space Station. I want Jigsaw to incorporate the Canadarm into one of his traps. Like, that'd be epic.
Yeah, they could really get nuts with it.
Please.
They could do like a sci-fi future one, like an AI Kramer or something.
What's fascinating about the Saw franchise is they clearly have some level of reservation when it comes to how wacky that they'll get. Whereas, from my understanding, something like Fast and the Furious doesn't have those reservations, and they're just like, fuck it.
No, and it's
Right.
not fun as the way they push it in those movies. It's just like, oh, everyone's just a superhero, you know? Like that's not fun at a certain point.
I certainly wouldn't want the Saw films to be so on the nose that it's like, haha, isn't it funny that we're in space right now?
Yeah,
But I feel like if they
that sucks.
tried to do things in a way where like it would almost seem as though they're presenting it in a way where like maybe someone's supposed to take it seriously, I think that could be fun while still being like moderately self-aware.
Yeah, that's probably what would like ruin it about if you made Jigsaw like a supernatural being or a god or something. That probably would ruin some of the fun. The fact they have to like justify that it is like a dying old man. And just make this timeline make sense. That is
Based on what they show, I have to canonically believe that he is some sort of deity. Like based on the way the rest of the movies go, like I
but this
kind of have to believe.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's some sort of, Jesus has got his back or something.
he's a new prophet.
Yeah, Mr. Saw. Oh yeah, it's so interesting because first 30 minutes or so of the movie, it's like this weird, dramatic. Oh, I'm dying, and I just want to get the. And there's elements of hopefulness where he's like, oh, thanks. I finally am gonna get cured. When it's funny because even in the trailer they reveal it's not gonna happen, and also if you know where it is in the timeline,
course
that's
it's
not
not,
gonna
yeah.
happen. But they have these moments of hopefulness for the character where you're intentionally supposed to be feeling this sort of like, oh, I'm so happy that Jigsaw's problems are being solved because he's, he deserves it. He's such a great guy. And I was kind of worried that, despite enjoying the tone of that, I was kind of worried that they wouldn't be able to fit this weird kind of ADHD, flashy, spinning editing choices in some of the traps, which is, very much the voice of the franchise.
Yeah, it has.
And it's still there.
It's the style.
And it's somehow like a little bit dialed back compared to something like Saw 1 through 7, I guess. It's still a little bit dialed back, but it shows enough of it where I'm like, thank you for acknowledging me. Thank you for validating me, Kevin. I feel validated as a Saw boy. Watching
You just
this
reminded
film.
me as well of in that section where there is the hopefulness and you're wondering like, oh, are they actually gonna like cure him or something and do some crazy explanation of like to try and justify why he's still alive or something? Or, I don't know, do something nuts. He's like, it's when he's drawing the saw trap on the bench and he's like, maybe I don't need the saw traps anymore, and he like scrumples it up and throws it in the trash. It's like really funny.
And then it gets hurt so bad that he's like, oh no, I gotta be killing.
Yeah. No, I'm definitely gonna be killing after that.
Yeah.
That's what he says, yeah.
Any reasonable person would, is what I learned from this.
He's
movie.
like genuinely thinking, you know what, this Jigsaw thing, if I get cured, maybe I'm gonna pack it in. Maybe I'm gonna be a good guy after all. Nope.
I should invest in crypto.
Yeah. Ethereum? Jigsaw on Ethereum?
Yeah. He seems like an Ethereum kind of guy.
He's got to fund this shit somehow. Like, how many of those like puppets has he got packed away? Where did he even get it in Mexico?
I guess he just imported them and just brought them in case he thought he would need them, or maybe he made a trip back, or maybe he made a new one.
Oh no, I bet he always brings like spares with him. I bet he's always got like 4 or 5 just like ready to go.
Oh yeah, did they even use Billy the puppet, like the tricycle?
I feel like he's in there once or twice, but there's just more instances of John Kramer directly speaking, or at least like observing in a way where the puppet isn't needed. Because that was like part of the scares in the early ones, right? Where it's just kind of implied he's watching somewhere, and it's usually rooted from the perspective of the victim in the trap, and you don't really see what Jigsaw's doing until way later.
Yeah, and they're supposed to believe they're alone, and it's kind of like a fucking, I don't know, like a escape room vibe or whatever. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, throughout this entire film, every single trap, he's just kind of like staring them down behind a window. And the entire film, he's kind of just like, I'm here, I'm just watching, I'm not even gonna...
It's like even more personal than everyone else he's like tried to go for.
Yeah,
he's like really wants to watch them suffer.
It's an interesting direction, and it feels kind of out of place in a way.
But I'm happy for it, though, because the more Tobin Bell's screen time, the happier I am.
Same.
Every second he's on screen, I'm with it. Every time he's interacting or shouting at someone or lecturing someone, it is awesome. It's always faulted when it's gonna work.
Killing is distasteful.
Just like trying to hear him like talk in circles about like just his methods. It's just like hilarious. It just doesn't make any sense.
So Jigsaw is mentally OP.
Yeah, he might as well be a superhero.
Amanda is physically OP. She kidnaps like 4 people in the movie, maybe in the same night.
She like teleport.
Yeah, she's like she's been working out.
Yeah, so I guess it's implied that after he's tricked, he gets so mad that he, I guess, flies Amanda over to help wrangle up everyone, also with the help of the detective Hoffman. Because there's that whole thing with the British guy who's like, that's another twist where you think he's also a victim like Kramer. But then it turns out he's the secret boyfriend of the evil Norwegian. And somehow he already knew, Jigsaw already knew that because Hoffman tipped him off.
Yes.
I think that's right.
I don't know. I don't know how he knew that. There's a lot going on.
How did they know but you?
Parker Sears! Okay, he was in on it.
There's layers.
But they also knew that if he saw a person standing when he came in, that he would shoot them in the head. Because they did prop up the other game-losing character's head onto that thing like a scarecrow, and he immediately shows up in the building like, is anybody here? Blam! Just instant headshot, and I was like, oh, it's somebody else's head. Because so they knew that he was going to do that. They successfully psychoanalyzed him.
This is 6, 7, 8, 9D chess that he's playing.
Yes.
He's so many steps ahead that it's impossible to even be on his level.
Something that I noticed in the film, and who knows if they're going to patch this before the fucking digital release or what the hell happened, but there were some scenes where the audio quality of John and Amanda as they're talking to each other sounded weird and kind of garbled and low quality in a way that reminds me very much of a lot of experimentation I've done with like AI voice software stuff. And I'm wondering if this is actually, because I think we're at this point in the timeline. I think we're at this point in the timeline where they can and might be doing this in ways where it's like, well, this needed ADR. Do we hire them for a day of ADR, or do we just AI their voices and pay the sound guy not as much as you would have to pay John Kramer and...
Interesting. How do you know it was that and not the place you viewed it, the theater you saw it?
Because it's just that scene, and it reminds me. And I've got a very particular ear for things, and I have never been diagnosed with autism, but I have something in my brain where there's certain very hyper specific things that stick out to me, sensory wise. And I'm not saying for sure that was AI. It could have also just been an issue with the audio being exported in that scene and then re-imported, and then the sound guy was just like didn't realize that it was like weirdly low quality. But it the way it sounds reminds me it's such a particular kind of low quality, almost garbled but not really sound that reminds me to a T of a lot of AI generated voice stuff that I've been experimenting with in my free time a bunch. The scene is right after the femur girl dies. So right after she cuts off her leg, and it's just Amanda and John talking to each other saying, Gabriella is next. That's the scene. And I'm just, I need to hear that part again, because there's something very particular about that scene and the audio quality and the way it sounds.
That lady doctor deserves nothing. Yeah, but her father's real. We both know that. Sometimes we get sucked into things that are against our nature. Drugs are as vicious as they are powerful.
Have you heard any good AI Tobin Bell voices yet? They must be out there.
I mean, I'm sure that there's enough of him talking to be able to create something like that.
Yeah.
And the technology is getting better. Yeah, I did feel the length of this film. I did wish that it was a bit shorter. 2 hours is a lot for a Saw film.
Yeah, I did as well. It was a lot, but I don't know. I was never really bored either, because I was just waiting. I'm just waiting for their explanation for It's like the inverse of what I'm normally looking for. Like, clunky exposition is kind of what I'm waiting for in these movies. Of like, how are you going to explain your way out of these crazy situations you're getting yourselves in? And they never really disappoint in this movie anyway. Like, it's just the layers thing is just so hilarious. Just trying to justify where they put themselves. They're just writing themselves into corner time and time again.
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of setup and there is payoff in a sense. But I don't know how that's going to translate to rewatches, because, even on the first watch, I'm kind of just patiently waiting for more gore scenes, and it does kind of take forever to get to them. I don't know if this film is going to age particularly well, at least for just being able to watch an entertaining movie and not feel like any parts are slogging. Let's say I was doing like a Saw marathon or whatever, like, if I'm watching them in order of release date, this would still feel like a breath of fresh air compared to the previous two. But if, let's say I skipped those other ones, this would feel like things slow down a bit too much.
But what could they take out unless they got rid of one of the accomplices in the scam? Because they need that whole first act. It's too funny to trim any of that. It needs that all needs to be exactly the same.
I mean, no, you can still show a lot of the same things, but just not have it go on as long and not be as like self-indulgent. Maybe don't even take from that chunk of the film, but in between character deaths and in between traps, they are kind of just rehashing a lot of the same information. They have a lot of the same arguments, these moral arguments that already happened in this film and the other films, and they're like, Amanda will say something like, Valentina died because she didn't have the will to live, and they'll be like, you chopped her fucking head off, and it's like, okay, they're acknowledging it. Do they really need to? We already kind of know that this is bullshit. Anybody who has ever seen a fucking Saw movie knows that this entire conversation is just fucking useless anyway. It doesn't even matter if they acknowledge it at this point. So there's a lot of that, and I feel like they could trim some of that down and have it would be nice after the first 30 minutes of this like sentimental Jigsaw redemption build-up and him fucking teaching a little Mexican child how to fill up a tire on his bicycle. It would be nice if just after that moment it was like Gaspar Noé's climax, like, okay, nothing but gore from now on. Or just even the same caliber as the other Saw films in that sense. Like, the other Saw films, there's a lot of bullshit. There's a lot of filler, but it still moves along much more quickly, and the bullshit and filler is just so stupid and funny. You know, Saw 4 through 7 are just, they're very, very entertaining for me.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe take out some of the times where they're like introducing a trap and they're like, this is so crazy. What are you doing, man? You gotta stop it, man.
Yeah.
All this kind of stuff. I don't know.
The guy who played Mateo, the guy who was removing his own brain, I thought he was pretty good. I thought he was a good actor. I believed his performance.
I liked him. Yeah, he was definitely the most. He sold his fear the best.
Yeah.
And there's a fucking bone cutter?
The craniosome.
I don't care what the fucking thing is called, Cecilia!
I'm not able to say that about a lot of Saw films where I just see like, oh, nameless actor that's gonna die. They did a good job. I'm not able to say that for most of the Saw films. So it's really nice.
True. That is true.
It's really nice when we have those moments. A little extra bit of effort, a little extra, little sprinkles on top.
I've got to go back to the guy who basically gets this whole story moving with the scar. Who's like,
it's my wound.
Tricks. Yeah, it's my wound. That guy. So they're saying that he went to a bunch of cancer meetings pretending to have cancer in order to scam people. Presumably he was doing that for like...
Yes.
Holy shit, that's so elaborate. That's dedication too.
And he would not only do that, but he would find ways to bump into them many months later. Theoretically, the people that he's scamming are still alive. I just got the best surgery.
And rely on this pre-established rapport that they have from the cancer meetings.
Yeah, you remember me,
He's
right?
like the most evil one. He's like the most evil one of them all.
Yeah, maybe. I didn't mention about the post-credit scene. What's unsatisfying is they just kind of cut to black after showing Hoffman, even though they show the guy, the "it's my wound" guy. They show him in a trap, and we never see it. Like, just
saving it for the next one.
Yeah,
I hate that. It can open the next one.
Nah, you gotta show. Well, maybe they will, but it would be nice to get some sort of like payoff to the just seeing that setup, seeing them in the saw trap.
They should have had it while the credits are playing or something, like being eviscerated by a saw trap.
It's so funny because this is the same composer as the other Saw films, and it's the same composer throughout the entire film, despite it tackling a bunch of different genres and feelings that are nowhere else to be found in the entire franchise. And then it still musically returns to its roots too, doing this like kind of epic electric guitar, like and like spinning camera and people going ah ah ah.
I can't.
It's just like it's such a sensory overload in such a fun way that I'm just like giggling.
Yeah.
I'm giddy, and I'm like a fucking I'm like a kid again, watching people cut their limbs off and enjoying it.
And another unique thing about this one though is in that first act, you're spending a lot of time in environments that are kind of very unsaw, you know?
Yeah.
You're just like, and the way it's shot and everything, like it's like going around with this like soft, like natural lighting in Mexico, going to all these like different locations, and
you can tell it's Mexico because it has a yellow tinge.
yeah. It's quite unusual. It does return to what you expect after that first act, where it is like a warehouse with that like harsh blue lighting and everything. But yeah, that was like something different about it. It was able to do some new stuff in there.
Oh God, the line "one less person to split the money with." When she starts doing her speech, she's like, I didn't see any of these people as people at all. I just wanted them to die. One less person to split the money with. It's like, that sounds like a children's story. That sounds like the caliber of writing in like Spy Kids 3 or something. And then it's like, okay, well then why was she... Is she just like faking it? Is she just being pompous and like, I don't want you to believe that I cared about these people because I just feel better when you think I'm a psychopath or something. It's like, why did she try to help the other people through the traps then? Why didn't she just not say anything?
Yeah.
Maybe because she thought if they lived, they would help her. She was just manipulating.
And not only could Jigsaw break down her character to such a degree where he could predict everything about her and how she would act. He could also predict 2 layers of her relationship with the British guy as well, knowing that eventually they would double cross each other because I guess the relationship was built on shaky ground because they're just so greedy. Yeah, and he's a genius.
He is an omniscient god. So I'm looking in my notes. I forgot about this line until I looked at it right now. I wrote down,
"Oh, have you found it?"
Jig fucking saw.
When I realized who you really were, Jig fucking saw.
That's what she says.
Yeah, that's right. That's it. That's the one. Yeah. I knew she said something.
Fucking saw. Oh yeah, and then oh my god, this is so stupid. Reading my notes. They all hear a soccer ball being bounced on the wall outside of the warehouse by the kid outside. That's why they know the kid is there, is because in the midst of all of these people fucking like betraying and yelling at each other and like bleeding out and like all this fucking drama, inside this warehouse, like I guess it's got paper thin walls and like and that the room that they're in is like directly attached to it's the same wall as the outside of the building. Everybody just stops like, what's that noise? I hear a ball being bounced against the wall. Like everybody stops and hears it for no reason. Like that would not happen. It reminded me of the end of Disney's Bolt, where all the firefighters are like, everybody stop. Oh, no. There's a dog barking. Like, stop what you're doing. It's like, even if they heard it, it's like, what do you mean? What is that? What does that mean to you? Stop.
And I guess the kid with the ball can't hear the screaming, tortured people and the heavy machinery, like,
he's
blasting.
In Mexico. It's the sounds of the city. Satire.
But I thought they established that it's in the middle of nowhere. Like, why is the boy? How does he get there?
By his newly refurbished bicycle is how he gets there. So you can thank John Kramer for helping him out. He did this to himself. She brings him in just to toy with Jigsaw because she's confident that despite Jigsaw being like this mass murderer that she knows about, and despite this whole setup where she's just witnessed a bunch of people that have cut their own limbs off and taken parts out of their brain and still died because of the timer that he set up, she's so confident that he has such a perfect moral compass that he's gonna feel bad about the kid, and it just seems to be for her own like sick, twisted pleasure, right? Of like, I'm gonna get revenge on you by hurting an innocent kid, and she knows like, yeah, Jigsaw's got a real heart. This'll fuck with him. Like she knows a lot of it, like based on what the newspaper articles of him slaughtering people, that she's like, he must probably like kids. I don't know where it's kind of incomprehensible.
Yeah, because they don't really have many conversations or anything. She reads his medical records, but how would she know that from that?
Yeah, and Jigsaw's identity wouldn't have been public at this point anyway. If this is before Saw 2.
Yeah, because he's not dead.
Saw 2 is when his identity, when he flexes on Donnie Wahlberg and just shows himself. He's like, arrest me, but you'll never see your son, maybe.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Oh no, a child is in a trap. And I wrote in my notes, not gonna do it. Like, even though it's a Saw film, you're not gonna see a kid die in a Saw trap. You're just not gonna see it. Yeah, don't even pretend.
They took it further than I thought they were going to, though, with him being drowned in blood. Yeah, he at least partook in a Saw trap. Wasn't killed by it or injured by it, but heroic Saw holding the lever to make sure the kid can't. That part's hilarious.
Yeah, and also it's very convenient that the Saw trap that both of them find themselves in is one where Jigsaw is able to use his new Spanish abilities, because we got the flashback of him saying, how do you say pull in Spanish? And now he goes like,
you mean that beautiful reincorporation?
No pull.
Yeah. Pull.
Jala.
Later.
No jala. Comprende? No jala.
So it's very convenient that this is a trap where he would be able to say something like that and not an entirely different trap that didn't involve pulling anything.
It's all just
So-
part of the chess, man. He knew it was going to get to that point.
Why was the contraption kid-sized if he thought that Amanda was supposed to be? Did he create like an adjustable, like
Yeah.
you can just slide these things up and like, he just made something really well designed, like one size fits all.
He's a master engineer.
Even though he
he's a
knew
master
Amanda was
engineer,
going to be
so-
in the trap, but he fucked up and now it's a kid in the trap, but it fits the kid too. Oh yeah, they actually say out loud in the film, I got one more quote here from this scene. Not waterboarding, huh? Bloodboarding.
Not waterboarding, huh? Bloodboarding.
That's what they say in the movie. That's a crazy line.
That's awesome.
That was funny. That was funny as fuck.
That might be the line of the movie right there.
That might be the line of the century.
Bloodboarding. And you get to see it in all its glory. I feel like that scene goes on for like 20 minutes of them just like gargling blood.
And it's so dramatic. It's so dramatic how they imply it is. Where it's like, oh, the kid, Jigsaw is not a bad guy. He doesn't deserve any of this. He's just, you know, oh, you don't want to see this happen to him. And the kid's he's self-sacrificing. And they're both so noble because they love each other so much that they don't want the other one of them to die. Oh, it's so funny.
My God.
That is a great scene. It's crazy that there's so much memorable imagery from this film.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, it's
everything.
really up there. I don't know if it's just recency bias, but I think it's
not just
really
recency
memorable
bias.
in terms of that stuff.
Kevin knows what he's in.
Yeah, but in that scene, was it Tobin Bell actually doing that effect of the blood like splashing? Not obviously, it's not real blood, but there's some liquid being poured on an actor.
I don't think they actually waterboarded a 90-year-old man. If that's what you're
You mean
asking.
bloodboarded?
Yeah, boogie board. I don't know. That was a lot of blood. You'd think it would just run out at some point.
Yeah, like wait, so he's got blood storage as well.
It's also a very easy trap to get out of. You just take turns.
Yeah.
It seems like a very winnable one, which I guess was the intention, because he was expecting himself to be in it. And then it's revealed at the end that the guns that they were threatening them with actually had blanks in them or were not loaded, right?
That seemed pretty obvious to me that it was going to go
Yeah.
that way, yeah. Like, although he'd have to be a dumbass to not have deactivated it in some way.
But I mean, if he was even smarter, he would just know whether or not he was going to shoot them for real. You don't leave anything up to chance when you're, you know, he's the determinist.
I feel like he leaves a lot up to chance, to be honest.
Not in his reality, not in his universe. This is the Saw-verse. Evil lady and random boyfriend money guy, they go upstairs and they're like, can't believe they fell for the whole fucking thing, fucking idiots. And say that really loud and obviously for the audience. And then they point at the money and they say, there's the money. And then they grab it and a timer starts. They're like, what? And then the Saw theme starts and it's like, ba 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 ba
That's when I
ba
start
ba
laughing, yeah.
My note here says, this is it started. And it's kind of incomprehensible. Like the twist just almost doesn't matter because it doesn't recontextualize anything. It just kind of shows that he's one step ahead of people, which is already kind of implied throughout the entire franchise. It's just like, I don't know, it's not a great twist. When I, bought a ticket to this movie, I was kind of hoping there would be a twist that played into the greater narrative of the Saw films and not just this own tiny contained thing that doesn't matter, where it's about these two characters that have just been introduced.
Yeah, I really thought they were going to go down the road of like trying to cure him and somehow trying to like justify that and explain it in a way where they can keep him around. Because like the villain character survives and they spend all this time on the exposition of her father, who she claims like isn't actually a con man and knows the science and does have some kind of cure or something. So I don't know if they're gonna like go down that in the next one more or what they're gonna do.
Did they imply that? I don't fucking remember, but I mean,
yeah, she's the daughter of like this famous doctor.
And that wasn't a lie?
I think it's left more open. Yeah,
Okay.
He does say something like people say anything when they're in a saw trap, but
Okay.
I don't know. That's a thread that's left open because they don't kill her.
Yeah. I was upset because the movie was coming to a close and they didn't acknowledge Hoffman. I'm glad that I got that in the post credits, but yeah, come on, just make him a main part of the next one. Make another movie immediately. Make another movie immediately. Pump him out One per year for the next 10 years.
He was acknowledged on the phone, wasn't he? You hear him on the phone. He gets
I
that little cameo.
Must have tuned that part out. I must have been giggling too loud and scribbling too obsessively.
I was able to find the man you asked for.
Uh-huh. Good.
Oh, yeah. The choice to replay, I think it was Amanda saying this line. You know she's gonna eventually kill you too, right? You just don't see it yet. The fact that the fact that she said that and that it was something that they felt was worthy of replaying, as if it's like, whoa, she did say that. But that's not like really a twist. That's just like that was eventually gonna like, yeah, she's so evil. Of course, like that's not like a surprise when she says it. You believe it.
Yeah, was that just explaining to the audience?
And then yeah, they're fighting for air because there's poison and there's only
funny
room
visual
for one
to
of
that,
them
poking their heads out of that little hole.
Yeah, and it seems to be poison that's like burning their skin too, so they might just be fucked either way. I don't know what the implication is to what their health is. Oh god, I'm so glad I wrote down notes because I'm just remembering these parts of the movie as it's happening. They give the Mexican child the bag full of money, which is the funniest thing in the fucking world.
That's right. He's got millions of dollars.
So altruistic.
He is. He basically is a superhero in this movie, come to think of it.
Yeah.
He's got like a genius mind. He is altruistic. He's giving away the money at the end. He's a good guy, man. Jigsaw's actually a good guy.
He's like a father figure. He's like a daddy.
Something. Oh, is it supposed to tie into the whole like he really wanted a kid?
Probably.
As well.
So he gets to pretend he had a kid.
Get to be a father for a brief moment.
Yeah.
Oh, that's emotional.
Yeah, final page of notes. Should have been more traps and more gore. Kind of loses itself trying to be more mature and more of a quote-unquote real movie. But it's still a return to form, and it's still way better than fucking Jigsaw and Spiral from the Book of Saw. And it was funny. It was mostly satisfying, kind of incomprehensible, very stupid, but it was new and refreshing and gave me what I wanted while still kind of being unsatisfying in a way. So I'm giving this one a 4 out of 10. I think that's fair.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'd give it a 4 as well, or a 2-star, but with a big fat juicy like on there as well. Like after this conversation, I want to watch this movie again. This is a good Saw. This is a good one. I love that poster.
If somebody wanted to see it in theaters again, I would fucking watch it again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I hope we get more like this.
It's so refreshing. Just why did they stop?
Yeah.
Why did they stop?
There was like a huge time gap, wasn't there, between Saw 3D, whatever it's called.
Yes.
7 years, yeah.
Yeah.
And both those sucked. So
they stopped for literally no reason.
Maybe Tobin Bell wanted a break. Wanted to spend some time with his Mexican boys.
I don't think anybody acting in the movie wanted a break. If you look at the guy who played fucking Hoffman, like the only footage that exists of him online as an actor is just him being like, please, fans, tell them that you want more Saw movies. And it's like, I feel bad for the guy. He's like, this is clearly just his biggest, most important thing he's ever done. And he clearly loves doing it. I love seeing him in the movies. I agree. Like, I want to see that guy.
I do, yeah, he rocks.
In more Saw films. Oh my God. The Saw 6 where he comes out of the body bag and massacres everybody. So many classic moments. Name a Saw trap. I'll tell you which Saw film.
What's the one where there's a buzzsaw and they've got to get the blood?
Oh, that's at the end of Saw 5, where they have to stick their hands in the thing and it collects their blood to open the door.
Which one's the ice?
Ice? There's ice in a couple different movies.
The two big ice blocks that come down and crush like a
Donnie Wahlberg. That's at the end of Saw 4.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about the one that's in public? That was like
at the
trap.
beginning of Saw 7, Saw 3D. I think we're breaking up with you, right. Tina. I could go on for days. I'm a fan.
Yeah,
I'm
man.
a certified Saw fan.
You got a good memory for this.
I'm a Saw boy. All right. We should wrap this up. 4 out of 10. Thanks for having this conversation.
Yeah, that was golden.
Yeah. We made a feature-length
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
film out of it. Alex,
Yeah.
where can people find you? Can you plug your socials?
Yeah, you can just search IHE on YouTube or listen to Sardonicast. You can find me around.
Mm-hmm.
You know where to look.
If anybody listening would like to hear more conversations like this, it is very much identical to our podcast that we have together called Sardonicast. We couldn't fit in this conversation into any other episode this month, and we wanted to have some Saw X content out, and this just seemed to make the most sense. So yeah, if you like conversations like this, check out our podcast. We do different movie recommendations every month. Sometimes they're terrible, sometimes they're great. We have guests on. Thanks for listening, everybody. Wow. Have a happy... I just make another fucking movie right away. That's all I want.
Keep going. Forever.
Keep going.
Socks forever.
Socks. Socks 2.
Saw XX, yeah.
SOCKS. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Bye-bye.
Me.